Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 119. We're a podcast that talks about pop culture things that interest us, and sometimes there's whiskey. My name is John, and I am joined as always by Andrea. How's it going?
Good, good. Happy Monday. How are ya?
Good. You like glitched a little bit and sounded like Bunday.
Happy Monday.
Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, birthday. I don't know. What was I trying to say?
I don't know. Bunday. It's like everybody heads to
Monday.
the bakery to get their bread for the week.
Ooh,
It's
that
the
sounds good.
Bun Day. Yeah.
Let's make it
Mhm.
Monday.
Or it's like leg day, you're doing the squats.
Glutes,
Yeah.
buns of steel. Let's bring that back. Oh boy.
Mhm. Well, yeah, it's been a little bit longer than normal since our last show, but we are
hmm
back. We're gonna be talking about House of the Dragon, Hot
hmm
D, as the cool kids call it.
Hot
And
tea.
and before
Uh,
that, we'll have some webtoons to talk about. We'll be continuing along with Maybe Meant to Be
mhm.
and solo leveling. All those things will be spoilery. They'll be later in the show. Before we get there, we're gonna have news, talk about our
Mhm.
weeks a little bit,
Mhm.
and per usual, we have drink holidays.
Yeah, we have lots of drink holidays since it's been longer than usual. And we started a whole new month in the time that we've last been on the podcast. So it is September, and it is a good month in my view because it is Bourbon Heritage Month.
Nice, yeah.
So that's
Mhm.
definitely a whole month that I can get behind. And I am.
All right.
So, this is a bourbon that I recently picked up from J. Carver Distillery, so made here in
Okay.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
I was kind of on a liquor restocking shopping spree,
Mm.
and got a couple of different things from Minnesota distilleries because I was just like feeling that state pride. So,
Yeah.
here's
Nice.
to Bourbon
Cheers.
Heritage Month.
Before I show my drink, I'll cheers with my water, like
Mm,
my jug,
ooh, that is a huge jug.
gallon a day.
You got a jug on you, John.
Yeah. The burp. Yeah, Jake Carver.
Mhm,
Been there a couple times because that's a little
mhm.
closer to us, and
Yeah.
it's a nice place, pretty fancy. You've taken a little tour there, though. I have to say, both times I've been there and tasted cocktails from their bar, I've
Mhm.
not particularly loved them. So it's
Okay.
been my one complaint is I
Sure.
enjoy their spirits and they have like food events, which is nice and stuff.
Mhm.
But
But
yeah,
work on the cocktails?
yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to brew some good spirits, you know, and
mhm.
then another to, like, brew up an actual excellent cocktail, like, you kinda gotta have both if you're
Mhm.
gonna be, like, an open distillery and open, like, floor
I would
kinda
say
thing.
it's kind of one thing to distill down spirits and to brew
Ah,
up cocktails. Yeah.
nice. Much better than mine.
Well, nice.
But yeah, straight up,
Bourbon.
Jay Carver is pretty good. So
Yeah.
no complaints. Nah,
Yeah.
I mean not the best I've ever had, but not bad.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, so if you're not into bourbon, there are plenty of other holidays that you can celebrate. Football is officially back. The NFL is officially back, as is college football. So on September 3rd, it was National Tailgating Day, in addition to being Labor Day.
Nice. Okay.
So
Did you do any tailgating?
I did not do any tailgating, sadly. I've actually only gone tailgating like twice in my life. And one was a college football game, and then the other was at Lambeau Field, which is
Okay.
like
Very
entirely
different.
different
Yeah.
experience. It's
Yeah. Right.
next level for sure.
So, is it in the sense of like we tailgate, we drink, and people grill and stuff, and then
Eat
go
food,
in for
play
the
games.
game,
Yeah.
or like
Mhm.
watch it outside or something?
Nope. Go
Go
in
in
for the
there.
game. Yeah. Like
Okay.
go cook outside, hang out. Yeah. Have some drinks, have some food, play some games, start talking to each other, making some friends, and then yeah, you go inside and
Making some enemies.
making
Kind
some
of
yeah,
shows.
making some
Yeah.
enemies. You never know. You never
Yeah.
know. It depends on who's near you,
Hmm.
who's in your section. So,
Yeah. Nice.
And then, in addition to being Labor Day and National Tailgating Day, this 3rd of September was also Cabernet Day. So quite the
Different
opposite.
up. Yeah. Yep.
Tailgating, Cabernet, not two things that generally go together. I mean, you
To make it
can.
happen.
You
Yeah.
do you,
Hmm.
but also like not the first thing you think
You
of.
have like you pull up with your big pickup, it's a Ford Raptor, and then you turn on the stereo and it's like a little like kind of light elevatory sort of music, and you put
Some
up like
jazz,
tents, you got fans going, feather fans. This is real zen with your
right?
Cabernet before the
Right?
big
Yeah,
game.
some like elegant velvet chairs,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
some like fold out camping chairs. You're the real deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
You make your kids serve you fruit on a platter, you
It
know?
reminds me, God, I don't know why this popped into my head, but um like there was like a Gilmore Girls episode at one time when it was like the big like Harvard Yale football game, and like the grandparents were like, "We do tailgating for real." And it was like, "Okay, but you don't." It was like fancy tailgating. They were like making bloody marys, and they had like
Mm.
canapes everywhere, and like that's that's the sort of tailgating I think would like go with Cabernet, would be like, "Oh, we're
Mhm.
tailgating in our private area with our like catered food."
Did the one woman, like, cater it kind of though? Because there's the cook,
Oh, the
the chef.
chef? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, she didn't. This was, like, private, like, butlery looking guy,
Mm.
just, like, fancy to the fancy.
Were you
Um,
telling us that that show didn't age well?
that show does not age well, no.
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
there are definitely, like, plenty of fine elements for sure,
sure,
but there's definitely some stuff that's like, that didn't go very well, and
mm,
it's, like, not as funny anymore,
sure,
so
okay,
anyway, moving on from tailgating and or Cabernet,
yeah,
uh somehow switching back to something more suited to tailgating, September 7th was National Beer Lovers Day.
yeah,
And the following day, the 8th, was National Sour Beer Day, which
mhm.
I really feel like is having a moment right now. It's
Sour
like
beer again?
I think it's like reaching the end of
Okay,
its like height of popularity, but it's still ubiquitous on any like brewery menu. And
yeah, I
far
feel
more than
like
it used to be.
yes, I feel like it's made its way in where it's now a staple. It
Sure.
was trendy for a while, and now it's to the point where it's just one of the kinds of beer everyone is gonna have, you
Yeah, I
know?
just feel like when I've been out to like happy hours and stuff, with coworkers and friends and things like that, people just still tend to order sour beer more than I feel like is normal. Do you know what I mean? Like that's sort of the thing that everybody still like gravitates like, "Oh, I want to try their sour."
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
just feel like
it's
it's still like a thing right now. Not like a craze, not like, "Oh my god, they
yeah,
have so many," but it's still just like everybody wants to try it.
it's definitely the non-beer drinkers beer as well.
Yes.
Like,
Mhm.
if you're not really into it, it's so different, obviously, than anything else you're gonna get that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I am celebrating, Beer Lovers Day.
You are. I was kind of
Um,
thinking you would be celebrating the final day over here. September
no,
10th, National Canned Cocktail Day.
I
You've been breaking those out, I feel like.
I think I have maybe 1, maybe actually, I think I just have cans of wine, maybe a couple of those, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't really, just got some beer that's left over from Renfest because
Sure.
barely drank any of it there. Just brought it all. So it's September, so we're going Oktoberfest.
All right. All
Um,
right. You're just like leaning into the whole fall
yeah.
season. Yeah,
Mhm.
I dig it.
So this is Lift Bridge. Um, they're always good. They're at Oktoberfest, so I'm excited.
Cool.
I'm always excited for the Oktoberfest beers to be around.
Solid choice. Yeah, I went to a barbecue the other day. And even though it still felt
Mm.
like we were like holding on to the last vestiges of summer, everybody there was drinking, like, pumpkin nitro brew. So, it was like,
Yeah, it's
summer, but
time.
no, we're like, yeah, we're moving into those pumpkin brews, so
Mhm.
which
Yeah,
I have a
I,
very love-hate relationship with. Like, I've had
really?
good ones, and I've really had some, like, terrible, awful pumpkin flavored, just like
It
water crap. I wouldn't even
it's a
call it beer.
range. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's for sure because you get ones that are like kinda hit you in the face, and I don't
Yeah.
taste any pumpkin in this at all, or there's no, like, spices that would be like that, but and then you have ones that are like candy that
Yeah.
just all taste fake.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah, that's a hard one to get right, I think.
mhm. I forget who does it, but pumpkin, you know, that's a good
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, Alan just shared it. Yep,
Oh.
pumpkin, Southern Tier Brewing Company.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Mhm. So,
I
yeah,
would
that's
not
always
have
a good
guessed that.
go-to.
I don't know why, but
Yeah,
yeah.
right. But I took a sip of this and I just, man, this is like, the best sip of beer I've had in a while. I feel like
All
it's just
right.
what I wanted.
Well,
It's
perfect
got
then.
it's got not only the Minnesota bird, a loon on it, but it's also
Yep.
got some deer that really remind me of Baratheon. So,
Yeah,
so
we're gonna have to talk about some haunting Baratheon, either foreshadowing or echoing, or kind of both when we talk about House of the Dragon.
okay, okay. All right. We'll see
Because
where you
it's
go
hard
with
to
that.
it's hard to like talk about it with prequels because it's before, but it's after the other show. So is it
Mhm.
is it is it a foreshadowing? Is it an echo?
Definitely foreshadowing. I still think it's a foreshadowing.
Okay. It's
I mean,
hard though because like some scenes you're like, this really gives me echoes or vibes of, but technically,
mhm,
like, would it be a foreshadowing? So,
mhm,
I don't
mhm.
know.
It's still
Philosophical question for
foreshadowing
you.
if you know what is coming. It's
Yeah.
just clear foreshadowing. It's
Okay,
like,
I
wow,
guess.
on the nose.
Takes the mystery out.
Yeah, yeah, yep. All right. Lots of drinks.
Mhm.
Your week or week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it's been.
Yeah, yeah,
How's
it's
that
been
been?
quite a while. I suppose, I mean, I just mentioned the word mystery, so I'll start off with something I noticed in the past week while watching some television, which is the slew of trailers that just came out that are all about star-studded cast mystery movies. And there were
Mm,
3 in particular that I noticed trailers just come out for, which were Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, which I had no idea there was gonna be any sort of continuation on that.
okay.
Um, Amsterdam, and, See How They Run, which I just saw today.
Okay. Which is the
So
one, the cooking one? The, like, with Ray Fiennes, is that one of them?
nope,
Because that's
mm-mm.
another one, that's also like a star-studded cast of mystery-ish
Yes,
kinda thing.
yes, that was like something dinner.
Yeah.
What was that title?
Dinner served or dinner
Yes,
party or
some, like, super creepy
yeah.
title I remember, but yeah. So these 3, I honestly don't remember exactly what each mystery is. I think there's, like, murders to be solved in each one, but I don't know the circumstances. But definitely, like, very random star-studded, like, full cast lists in each one, and they all have that sort of, like, colorful, comedic, like, these are gonna be funny and witty and off kilter. Um, they all just kind of give me, like, the same vibe.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They're all just very similar to one another.
Yeah,
It
I'm not
doesn't mean I'm
familiar
not
with
excited, but
Amsterdam and the See How They Run. I don't know what those ones are, but
so
I
See How They
did
Run, I like I said, I just saw it today, and it was with, Saoirse Ronan, Sam Rockwell, and Adrian Brody, I think were the biggest
interesting.
names that came to mind.
Some I haven't heard of in a
Um,
while.
yeah, so there's a murder on the set of a play that they're about to turn into a movie.
Hmm.
So that's like the general premise of that one. Let's see if I can grab Amsterdam.
Well, and then also the other mystery that came out was the follow-up. It's the director of the second Harry Potter film. No, sorry. He's in the second Harry Potter film. He's director of the first Thor. Bragna, Kenneth Bragna. His
Oh yeah.
follow-up, it was the Murder on the Orient Express, but then there
Yep.
was a Murder on the Nile or something like that. That
Yes.
just came
Yep.
out.
Yeah, I actually watched that. That was not bad.
Okay.
Um, again, not like my favorite, but just not a bad
Mhm.
movie. So Amsterdam is 3 friends who witness a murder and then uncover an outrageous plot of American history. So that is Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, Remy Malek, Zoe Saldana, Robert De Niro. Whoa. Mike Myers, Timothy Oliphant, Chris Rock, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Taylor Swift. That's why I remember that one because I was like, "What is
Jesus.
Taylor Swift doing in this movie?"
That is a big list. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yep.
Well, can we manage to make it a thing where these are films that are good? Because normally the let's throw all the money at the cast doesn't
Mhm.
work out so well.
Or I feel like it worked out like one movie and then there was Love Actually was
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
holiday movie with the huge cast. Like it was really interesting, like interweaving all these like huge names with their stories, like who were they to each Eve and
yeah.
some other holiday that we thought was really, whatever. It was like, oh, this is just tired. It's bad.
Mhm.
So now I feel like we're kind of doing that with mystery movies.
You get them every once in a while, like sometimes the first one, like you mentioned, the holiday one there, and
Love
then
Actually.
yeah, and then was that other big one that Ocean's 11,
Oh yeah.
and then the first Knives Out, I would
hmm
say, you know,
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
yeah. So
So we'll
this
see.
new
Yeah.
one I think looks really cool.
Yeah, we'll see
Yeah,
if we
looks fun.
can like duplicate the success of that. Um,
Yeah.
and obviously if anybody's gonna go see it or if they're gonna get confused and end up seeing, going to be like, okay, which one is the murder mystery with the big cast? Is that Amsterdam?
Yeah.
Is that See How They Run? Is that Glass
Yeah.
Onion?
Yeah. Now I remember that there was going to be a Knives Out sequel. I didn't realize that it was going to be on Netflix.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. I
surprised
mean,
me.
didn't Knives Out end up streaming on Netflix? I
Maybe.
mean, it didn't start out that way, but I think it ended up there.
Yeah, maybe.
Whatever happened, I know whichever platform hosted it, it got like a second life, second kind of boost
Okay.
from being on streaming. So if it was
Sure.
Netflix, it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, totally.
So
Cool,
yeah, just
cool.
something I noticed this week. Other things I did this week. Obviously, I already talked about the NFL being back, so I watched the games. I've already got my heart broken in both real life football and in fantasy football, so it's been a whole week in 1 week. Yeah, yeah, I tell you. Um, but from that though, I watched the Emmys red carpet tonight, which was a lot of fun. It was fun to
Okay.
get back in like the kind of pre-awards show season madness. And I do love the Emmys because I just generally am more apt to watch a TV show these days than I am a movie. So it's just
Sure.
kind of fun to be like reminded of the things that were nominated and are supposed to be really good, and I should really have them on my radar. So yeah,
Okay.
fun to be had there.
Who was the best
Um,
dressed?
ooh, I don't know about best dressed. Because I didn't see everybody. But I saw Lily James and she looked stunning. She was in one of the definitely major trends of the night, which was like muted metallics.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
Another star that I thought did another trend well was Issa Rae, and she did black and white, and I thought her dress was very stunning. And then, oh my God, it's the team owner on Ted Lasso. What is her name? Like Hannah.
Oh, I know who you
Ugh.
mean, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
don't
know you
know.
know who I mean, and I cannot think of her last name right now, and I feel terrible. She did another trend of the night. She did like a big princess pink ball gown, which sounds terrible,
It
but
does, yeah.
like she worked. Like the
Okay.
dress that she had, like just the structure, the way that it was like fitted to her, she looked stunning.
Alan
Um
says Hannah Waddingham.
yes, yes, thank you. Oh my god, I knew it began with a W and I just was like not going to get there. Thank you, Alan. So yeah, so those were 3 stars that I thought looked particularly good.
Cool.
And like I
Nice.
said, just kind of like had each of the 3 trends that like I noticed for women of the night.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, and then the other kind of big thing that I did is watched the first Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, episode 1.
Yeah. What'd you
Ever
think?
have a real complicated relationship with that. Some real love hate. There was some beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous, cinematography and world building. And then there was some really irritating and I felt like problematic characterization, not across the board, but just very specifically. So I can tell like I'm gonna like struggle with this.
Okay.
Because like I said, I
Mhm.
love the world building. I love like the visual and cinematic scope. I love the overall storyline. And there was like a hint at the end of where I think it's going, and I'm really excited about it. But I'm really gonna struggle if some of the main characters keep acting the way they are.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've just been kind of eating up everybody's responses. It's just been like interesting what everyone has to say.
Yeah, and,
Um,
to be fair, I haven't I've only watched the first episode, so I haven't actually met the entire cast yet. We've met humans, elves, and Harfoots, and we have not met dwarves yet. I mean, I haven't really.
right. Hmm.
So, I can't tell you anything about, like, that characterization yet.
Sure. Well, keep us up to date.
I definitely will. I
I
mean,
mean,
I
do you have a
have to.
rating for the first episode, or it's just like
Ooh, ooh. I would say, like, a 6 out of 10.
okay?
Like I said,
If
there was some real strong stuff and some things I really liked, but there were things that bothered me a lot.
I mean, like we have some series to finish. I know you're in the middle of different things too.
Mhm.
Hot D is going on. Like, are you, if this wasn't associated at all with Tolkien's work, would you con- continue with the next episode?
Ooh, I would because I would wanna give it another chance at least,
Hmm.
to see if, like, the things that bothered me were just, like, pilot kinks,
Hmm.
or if the characterization was gonna continue this way and it would continue to bother me and upset me. So I would give it another episode. Like I said, I loved the world and I loved the overarching story, so I would give that a chance to see if it's going where I hope it's going. But after that, that would be a real wild card for me after
Is it
episode 2.
fair to say that any of your disappointments thus far stem mostly from like characterizations or writing or slash acting versus inconsistency with Tolkien's
The
pre-existing world and
that's
lore?
the 2 are a little bit tied together. There my problem is mostly with characterization, but some of that does tie into, I guess, being maybe nitpicky about the way that stories unfold in things like the Silmarillion. Um, Without giving too much away, there's something about Galadriel's characterization that I think changes her story arc from the Silmarillion, and it bothers me.
Sure. Mhm.
So and it's
Right.
not huge. It's kind of a technicality.
Okay.
So if you're not like deep into it, you might let it skate, but it's something that bothers me because it casts a different shadow on her. It casts a different shadow on like events that follow. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's a sort of like small but influential thing.
Is it is it fair or unfair to give this show less leeway compared to something like um the Wheel of Time or something
Mhm.
else, considering the like reverential status of Tolkien's
Mhm.
work and whether you like it or not, the general like large influence it has had. Does it
Mhm.
deserve
Mhm.
less for forgiving in adaptations, or is that sort of unfair to do that, regardless?
Yeah. I mean that's a solid fair question. Um I want to, in a fair world, say it should be given the same leeway as any other show. because it's its own thing, trying to tell its own story. Yet I live in this world where there's, context of there's been material before this, and Peter Jackson's trilogy is, a beloved adaptation. And so you kind of unfortunately get held to a higher standard when you already have something out there that's so well done, so highly acclaimed, and you're saying I'm going to attach my project to this by calling it
Right.
Lord of the Rings.
Hmm.
They could have called it Rings of Power and just like insinuated and intimated the Lord of the Rings piece,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I would give it a little bit more grace because they're not trying to tie themselves so hard to Lord of the Rings. But since you
Hmm.
are, you have to know that like this is the bar that's you need to reach or at least try to match,
Hmm.
and that it's higher than normal. It's not something like Wheel of Time, there's nothing else. You're
Right.
creating it totally anew. People have no bar, no set measurement to, set it against other than like general quality.
Hmm. Well, and like no criticism to them, but like Robert Jordan's work or whatever, or anyone else, even George R. R. Martin's, these things did not have the same kind of worldwide recognition, you know,
Mm.
before being made
Mhm.
into something else. So it is brand new to a lot of people.
Yep.
Tolkien's work is not so much. That's like reading material for, The Hobbit. And my dad read that as in school,
Mhm.
as um so I think, yeah, I don't know. I've been hearing, and I think we talked about this maybe beforehand too. It's like how after the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, there was a real
Mm.
resurgence of, hey, that prequel trilogy is actually pretty good. That's not too bad, is it? And then it was kind of like saw that coming here with the
Yeah.
potential because we had the Hobbit trilogy really like put down a lot of ways. People enjoyed it for what it was or whatever, but they saw the kind of greedy nature of we're gonna make three movies out of this thing no matter what.
Mhm.
And now people are like, maybe those Hobbit movies, they weren't so bad after all, I don't, so, but I
It's
think that,
funny, I could see people benchmarking either way against the Hobbit movies, like saying that, "Hey, maybe those Hobbit movies weren't so bad," and also like, "Hey, maybe the series isn't so bad," depending on
okay,
how deeply you feel about the Hobbit movies.
okay, yeah,
I mean, I think what's clear is neither of them clear to me, I should say. I shouldn't speak for like the world in general. Clear to me that neither the Hobbit movies nor this series is going to touch the original trilogy in terms of
sure,
like universally recognized greatness.
hmm, yep,
I think it's just never going to get there.
yeah. Well, and like you mentioned, they could have just called it Rings of Power and then
Mhm.
been obviously heavily drawing on inspiration from Tolkien's world, and then saved themselves $25 million because I
Mhm.
believe that was the cost to get their little bit of itty bitty rights for the appendices was 25 mil. So could have just saved that, pocketed that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, could have put that into some elements of production.
yep. Hmm. Okay, well, I'm excited to see. I planned to watch it. It just hasn't worked out, and
Sure.
so we'll see if I get there. But yeah. Um, well, that's fun. My week was a lot of comic books again.
Yeah.
Um,
You were an avid reader this week.
yeah, I mean, um, I'll mention I did start Cult of the Lamb. That's not a comic, but the video game I did try that some. It's a lot of
Sure.
fun, and watched the Apple event. Not really exactly pop culture, but there's that. And then I have to say, I'm really excited for the Cyberpunk anime, which launches tomorrow.
Yes,
So
it does. That's right.
um, just been looking forward to that.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'll call out I'm Dating a Psychopath. It's a new
Mhm.
webtoon that gave a shot. Read the first 5 episodes, and early review is positive. I think the art is really well done. It's
Same.
very detailed. It's a interesting story. It's weird how they kind of keep warning you, like giving you trigger warnings, basically, like adult content. If you've been in bad relationships, so like be aware, that kind of thing, you know? So I'm like,
Mhm.
how bad is it gonna get? You know, just has my expectations high for
Yeah.
brutality or something. And I would say the fifth episode is the one that kind of was the first that really made me, I thought one was a little weaker. There was
Okay.
just some dialogue in there that I just pictured if it had been made into an anime, someone saying those lines and thinking that didn't sound right, a
Sure.
little too much at once.
Sure.
But otherwise, I'm liking that. And then when I launched the app today, Webtoon app, right in my face popped up an ad for the new one,
Yes,
Loaf
I saw
app.
that.
Yeah, and I thought the art looked good on that too, so
Mhm.
I took a look at that and, I blew through the first 7 episodes of it. I don't normally like bullying webtoons. Yeah, again, like I mentioned before, it seems like bullying is a pretty big issue in South Korea, at least that
Mhm.
comes out in their comics. And so this is another one that has to deal with bullying, but it's in a more lighthearted manner thus far,
Mhm.
and kind of some funny characters. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in continue on that one for sure. So
Nice.
yeah, a couple
Yeah,
new ones.
those ads that kind of pop up for newly released webtoons, those are like so hit or miss for me.
Yes.
Like it really just has to grab me in like a split second. Otherwise, like I'm clicking that X.
Yep.
Like something
Yep.
about the art or just like the title has to
Hmm.
grab me. So I at least click on it. But yeah, it's not even 50-50. It's like 30-70. Like
Yeah.
30% I maybe click on it.
Well, you have intent. You're going in there to go to a thing.
Right, right,
And so you're just like click away with the stuff or whatever.
right.
Unless you
So
want
it's
to do
gotta
one
be
other.
it's
Yeah.
gotta seem good to really like pause my desire to be like, no, I really wanted this other one, but I'll pause and check this out.
Yep. It got me. Got me.
Nice, nice.
So all right. We got a few news stories. As I said, this Cyberpunk anime starts tomorrow. We're gonna have two video game events tomorrow: the Nintendo Direct, 40 minutes long, and a PlayStation one. So lots
Yeah,
of like
big.
video game adjacent things happening tomorrow.
Mhm.
Um, But we have to talk. It's not really pop culture again, but it is pretty, um,
Pretty significant.
yeah, significant is the word. Yeah, it's a not a common occurrence, and it's a sad event.
Mhm,
Queen Elizabeth II has died. She was quite old, so it's not like a surprise. But
mhm.
man,
It
I've been seeing all the things going around talking about like how many prime ministers she's seen and like
right?
all the
How many
world
presidents?
events. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it to me, it isn't a surprise logically when you think about it, of course,
right.
but her death felt to me the same or similar to Betty White's. She just sort of seemed like one of those presences that was
Constance.
just always going to be there that you
Mhm.
just didn't sort of think could die because they've always been there and they've always looked the same for like decades and decades. You know what I mean? Like there just
Yep.
hasn't been like much change and they didn't seem to be getting older until, kind of the very, very end when you were like, oh, so they do age.
Yeah.
But even then, you just sort of like didn't really think it was going to happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was not shocking, but also shocking in a way.
Yeah. I guess I was like the shocking part to me was some of the like again, we don't get political on the podcast very much, but like it
Mhm.
was shocking to me some of the people like celebrating it or being a
Mm.
little like
Mhm.
in the moment
Flip.
nasty. Um
Yeah.
it's like give it a minute, I guess, you know. Um and I don't know. It's I've definitely listened to a couple things now that I don't daily consider the monarchy much, you know,
Sure.
but yeah, I listened to a couple things that are pretty interesting about their monarchy and how that works, and I don't normally hear a good argument for it, but I've heard a good argument now, so it's
Well,
interesting.
Yeah, it's I think there's a lot of now, gray area surrounding how the monarchy moves forward. You know, in Britain and in, parts of the Commonwealth.
Right.
There are already, certain nations that are moving forward with referendums to decide to break with Great Britain,
Hmm.
um, and kind of sever ties and that sort of thing. And I think that's going to be, things that have to yet be decided, and things that probably will either move forward or won't after, the pomp and circumstance of the state funeral that's going to be, held soon here. Um, but in the meantime, I think it's going to be a fascinating look into how the monarchy operates, kind of all of these, ceremonial traditions surrounding like the passing of a queen, um, that we just, haven't had the opportunity to see for 70 years. I mean, that's
Hmm.
how long she's been on the throne. It's just crazy. So it's kind of a very interesting and memorable moment in that sense, historically,
Hmm.
and in terms of like pop culture generally, because I think there's a lot of pop culture and cultural moments that will stem from this.
Hmm. Yep.
Obviously, like the biggest thing that springs to mind is like, what does The Crown do? Like in terms
Yeah,
of
the
pop
show.
culture, not the biggest thing that obviously comes from the death of Queen Elizabeth and the things that follow culturally and politically for Great Britain. But if we're talking pop culture, like this is a show that was like running about Elizabeth's life during her life. What
Yep.
do they do now? Are they going to stop? Are they going to like hold production? Are they gonna move forward to her final years? Is that
I,
irreverent? Like,
I think there was a pause, right? Didn't they announce a pause
did
in
they
filming? I thought there
did
was
they
something
like
like that.
around this happening?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So then yeah, I mean, that's something obviously that impacts pop culture and I think is definitely the right move in my mind.
Hmm.
I mean, both
Yeah.
for themselves to give them time to like figure out how do we do this now?
Hmm.
How do we did we have plans that are now like, upended because this has happened. We don't want to be disrespectful, you know.
I heard viewership's up now, though.
I'm
Everybody's
sure it is. I'm
watching.
absolutely sure it is. I'm every time I flick on like Netflix or Hulu or any one of the streaming services, there's like see Elizabeth's younger days, like
Mm.
rewatch the coronation ceremony, like watch this recap of Elizabeth's life, and I'm like, oh God, it's a lot. It's a lot
Hmm.
very soon right now. I mean, I get it. Also, like maybe pump those brakes.
Here's a this is a joke,
Mm,
but it's funny in because you don't again don't think about the monarchy, but now we're watching like House of the Dragon and stuff, and it's
mm.
all about that kind of thing. So it's if this shows up on here, yeah,
Nope.
there it
I'm not.
says the monarchy's weak. Now's our chance, and they put over the top like a new Ohio or
Oh,
whatever. now's, now's our chance. Take it. If I mean if this was 300 years ago, 200 years ago, you have a
yeah.
transition of power. I don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
this, things happen. But well,
Yeah,
how do
it's
you
funny that
think?
we bring House of the Dragon into it because I've likened House of the Dragon to like
Yeah,
British history and British
right.
monarchy. So
Yeah.
very tied together.
How do you think King Charles III will do?
I mean, I don't mean to be flip, but he's had a lot of time to prepare for this.
Yeah, that's
So if
true.
he
Yeah.
doesn't do well, yikes, because you've had a really long time to like learn the ropes and figure out
Hmm.
what you're going to do. So, yeah. I mean, I hope well for his sake.
Hmm.
Um, he's wanted this for a very long time, and for a long time it looked like he was going to get passed over, and then Queen Elizabeth unequivocally stated that no, Charles is her heir and this was going to happen. So yeah, so I hope he does well. I don't wish him any particular ill.
Hmm.
I don't know how he's going to do in terms of connecting with the general British populace. I have
Hmm.
no idea if there's any sort of animosity or ill will left over from, obviously the tragic events surrounding Princess Diana and her death and their divorce. Um, Certainly, it's unfortunately fresh in everyone's mind who has been watching The Crown because that's
Okay.
the span of time that they just entered into. So
Mm,
that's a little unfortunate. But I don't know that that's going to have any real impact on you know, how he's viewed. I think his
yeah.
actions will be far more telling.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, I don't know how the lineage or the heritage or the passing of power would go, but I've definitely
Mhm.
seen people thinking, "Yeah, you should just given it to William," because everybody seems to like him. Give it to William.
Yeah. I mean, if you were looking for stability, William would be the choice because he's young. Like,
Yep.
he would have another, multi-decade reign, barring anything unfortunate. Whereas Charles, we could be doing this again, unfortunately, shortly. And I don't mean that to be mean, but he is 73.
Right. Yep. Mhm. All right. Well, that's the passing of a queen. Doesn't happen every
Yeah.
day. That's
Yeah.
for
It's
sure.
very sad.
And
I do have to say, because I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. I did see her in person once coming out of Westminster Abbey.
ah,
It
nice.
was insane. Like, there's just like people lined up around outside the Abbey. Had no idea why, so I just like joined them with a group of people that I was with, and we got a prime spot to see her exit Westminster Abbey with the current prime minister, and then Charles and Camilla were following. So it was like the whole immediate royal family was there. It was pretty
Who was
cool.
the current PM? Was it
It
Cameron
was
or
Cameron.
it was okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. It was actually right before Brexit was announced.
Okay. Okay. Huh.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's distant to a lot of people. I've heard, varying things. That some people say Americans care more about the royal family than the British do, and I don't think that's true from what I've seen, but I've definitely heard that a number of times, and
yeah.
it's
I I feel like the Americans who care really care.
mm,
It's almost like Real Housewives,
right,
like real British monarchies.
yeah,
So people get like obsessed with like who's
hmm,
wearing what and who's got lifestyle tips and whatever.
yeah,
I think they're just a vocal minority.
sure, yep. Well, whether people like it or not, we're very intertwined with. I mean, their history is ours too.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, to a completely unrelated topic.
I know. I know.
Um,
There's no really good transition out of, the tragedy of somebody passing, a public figure
yeah,
passing. There's just not a great way to stop talking about that.
James Gunn.
James
Um,
Gunn.
he made a few headlines with a couple tweets he made,
Mhm.
and I don't need to belabor it, but we basically we've been covering occasionally new things that come up with the movie industry and like seem like problems. Um, my mind goes to effects artists saying that they've had to just make up stuff for whole third
Mhm.
acts of films and stuff like that for Marvel movies and stuff. So the comment that's like kind of highlighted here and stood out is from James Gunn tweet quote, if you saw how disorganized most
Mm.
productions are and how unfinished most scripts are on big movies as they start shooting, the number one reason for the deteriorating quality of feature films in my opinion, you'd see why usually this isn't an option. And that's the question was, why don't studios directors hire composers to make music before editing?
Mhm.
um, and so that kind of stands out as a shocking thing. You think, script, story, how what's going to happen. It's maybe pretty important to suss out before you start rolling the reels and getting actors on set and such.
Yeah, it's funny that this kind of big blanket recrimination of the way that movies are being made right now came from such a specific piece of movies. You know, somebody was asking a question about music, and it turned into like
Right.
films are unfinished when we shoot. This, production is a mess. We have no
Hmm.
idea what we're doing. We're making stuff up. Like it's just kind of crazy to me that like this came out of such like a specific piece of, like how do you do this for filmmaking and like why don't you have composers?
Yeah.
Um yeah, nothing about what he said shocks me at all. It's sad, but it's just sort of a confirmation of things that we've been picking up recently and issues that I think we've both talked about
Hmm.
with filmmaking and with making TV shows.
Right.
There's
Yep.
just not a passionate dedication to telling a fully realized story. It's just like this thing seems great. Like, we've got a rough idea. Let's just like move forward so we can like press it while it's hot, get the money, get the people,
Yep.
move forward.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I remember in school being like kind of drilled down into the how much money was at stake and the complicated, lengthy process of setting up a production. And so
Sure.
when you're scheduling out everything specifically, this is how long it's going to take. This is like the money per day. These are the people we need on set at this time. Here's when everybody shows up. And like the whole thing is planned out specifically. And of course, things happen and they
Of
run
course.
behind and whatever. But like it's all set because you went out and took people's money to make this thing and promised all this stuff or whatever. So it
Right.
would be behoove you to be prepared and have everything set. There's so much
Right.
money online. You lose thousands of dollars a day if you can't, if you're late or the weather is bad or something. And
Right.
so to like go in and get all the green lights and get rolling before you know that you have something that's good, because that's the reality. Like you might have a great premise and you're going along well, but how do you foreshadow properly something in the third act when you don't
Mhm.
know it?
Right.
How do you have the callbacks? How do you have
Right.
the beats that make sense with, that make the film feel full circle when you don't have the circle? Like you just it's stunning the people that have been in this field that make so much money, that have gone through school, that have made other productions, that seem to be forgetting the fundamentals of
Mhm.
storytelling. And I
Mhm.
guess you can't blame them if a studio's like, "Oh, I trust this person. Here's money, go." And we
Right.
need it by the end of the quarter of
Right.
next year or whatever, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. Would you really turn down like that
Right.
opportunity even if you didn't have it fleshed out? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Be pretty
Yeah.
hardcore of you.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a baller move, you know?
Yeah.
Like I would have respected Peter Jackson if he's like, "Look, The Hobbit should be one movie and they want me to do 3 with extended versions. I'm not gonna do it," you know? Someone
Mhm.
else will I can maybe do it better, I'm so passionate about it, but that's how passionate about it I am. I'm not stretching this children's book to 3 films. It's not
Mhm.
happening. So,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, poor Peter Jackson. I do feel for him in that
yeah.
instance because it's like how he loves it so much and you can tell. And it's
Mhm.
just like, how could he like let it fall into somebody else's hands when he cares? But oof, like how could he stop just short of caring enough to like not make those 3 movies?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can
Ugh,
see
it's
everybody around him talking him into it, being like, "Look,
right. Like
you
you could
know
totally
this
do this.
stuff." Yeah.
Genius. Like you did
Mhm.
these 3 movies. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep. So anyways, that's the
Yeah.
latest from James Gunn,
I could never
and,
imagine doing that. Like, as a story writer, I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I know that I am killer at coming up with a premise and a beginning. And then I falter at how am I going to end this thing?
mhm,
And sometimes
mhm.
I get there and it's great and or fine or it's not always like masterpiece level obviously, but like it works out.
Yeah.
but there are a lot of projects and storylines that I've abandoned because I can't get to that endpoint. And I'll pick it back
Yep.
up at some point and hopefully, think of something or be struck with inspiration. But I know that like planning A to Z isn't in a time constrained manner isn't my strong suit. So I
Hmm.
could never do something like this, like pitch even if I thought it was like the most amazing idea without at least maybe finding somebody to bounce ideas off of so I could get to an endpoint to at
Yep.
least have something.
Yep. Well, because it's so fun
'Cause
to
I might
ask
never finish
questions,
it.
right? Yeah. I mean, this is what we get with Lost. This is what we have
Mhm.
with, you know, um, we have all kinds of questions, crazy monsters or whatever. What are they? We need answers. They need to be seen, they need to be,
Right.
but
Raised by
who
Wolves, like, we were
well,
talking about that, like, I mean, we'll never know now,
yes,
but
exactly.
a lot of things that were brought up, like, crazy snake monster that we were like, "This very clearly needs to pay off in some way. You better have thought about this."
Right. Yep. Yep. There's a lot of, I think of kind of the Uncharted movie now,
Mm,
when we're talking
yeah,
about this, like maybe that's a thing that just didn't have the, it seemed to take a left turn, maybe that
mhm,
was fully intentional or maybe that just wasn't well thought out enough.
right, again,
So,
just we had a premise, like, we had stars attached, we were gonna roll with it,
yep.
just sorta, like, had to come up with something.
Yep. I'll read one more thing from him quick. Another
Mm,
tweet in this thread. I'd say after shooting with unfinished scripts, unprepared directors are the number two issue. It aggravates me to no end that so many directors, not most, but many, squander people's time, money, and talent by
mm,
walking onto a set not knowing where they're going to put the camera.
mhm, I
So,
saw that.
yeah. All right. You found this. I had
Mhm.
vaguely heard about this and hadn't really looked
Yeah.
into it, but National Cinema Day.
Yes, yeah, so they were, I mean, I say they, I don't really know who it was, but, some executives somewhere were putting their heads together to kind of think of how can we get people back into the movie theaters, get butts in seats and just sort of like kind of on the one hand drive up some revenue, on the other sort of say like, for those of you who did come back to the theater, thank you. We love the experience of, presenting at the box office again, and here's a reward in the form of in this normally slow like Labor Day weekend, let's just offer movies at like hugely slashed discounted prices, and let's bring back some like fan favorite popular movies from the past year and from past years, not just from like 2022, to just get some people in the seats and just see what happens. And it was huge success. Like I I didn't really hear about it until it was over. Um
Mhm.
I'm kind of bummed I missed out on it. But yeah, I mean, it was just like record turnout at all of these theaters that were offering this like discounted, I think like $3 admission or something like that because it was
Okay.
September 3rd. So, yeah, just kind of succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, and now something they're talking about offering kind of every year in the future. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So it is weird that we didn't like really know much about this in advance, right?
Mhm.
It was still obviously someone did because
Right,
it worked
yeah.
out.
Right.
Um, I saw a quote in this from Variety here.
Mhm.
See, so quote, the appeal to audiences of the true cinema experience is universal, enduring, and deep rooted, said Ian Jacon, chair of London's Cinema First. Um, is that the message we get from this? Do you feel like to me that statement is like, we're back, people love movies, it's gonna be, is this a I
I
don't know.
mean, I think it's that quote is probably born out of a renewed sense of optimism and maybe a little bit of shock at the success of this. But I don't think we can confidently say like movies are back. Theater experiences are back. Like they're certainly leaps and bounds from where they were during, like, deep COVID pandemic times, but that still doesn't mean you're going to get butts in seats without great films. And you can get them there when you release quality things that people enjoy, like Top Gun Maverick, which, they brought back for this particular cinema day. But that doesn't mean you can just release whatever you want and people are just like willing to go back to the movies.
Mhm. I I
So,
just I'm
optimism.
sorry. I had to laugh internally. It's like COVID, long COVID, deep COVID, right? It's another
Yeah,
one.
right. I know.
Mhm. Uh,
So many COVIDs, so many stages of COVIDs.
the I mean, to me, it's like, well, it's $3. What's a normal ticket now? When we went to Dragon Ball in the
Yeah.
AMC Prime Theater, it's like $17 a piece.
Yeah.
You know, could just
Sorry.
wait to buy the movie and have it for sure. And yeah, you're paying for that theater experience, so then you can buy really expensive snacks and stuff too.
Mhm. Which is still fun, but
It is still fun.
it's definitely like, I'm not just gonna go to the movies now.
Yeah. I mean, if I lived in town, I might do was okay. If I lived in town and I was single or still dating or something, I would probably get the AMC pass.
Sure.
Like, because then what the heck? You know what I mean? Else to do? You can go to a film and it definitely works out. You'd see
Yeah.
more for sure. But if you don't do that, it's an expensive endeavor. And so
Mhm.
yeah, $3 if you get to go to a nice screen, that's like below discount screen ticket cost.
Mhm.
So yeah. But it was interesting to see the movies that were the top 10. I was happy to see that Dragon Ball was in that list.
Yes. Yep, I noticed that.
Um, Eat out Jaws, that's fun.
Mhm.
And then Top Gun was first. I
Yeah.
still, um, I still haven't seen it. I still haven't
Maverick?
gotten. No, I still haven't gotten to see it. No, I'm intending to buy it and watch it. I just haven't
Do
had the time
it.
for it. But have you seen Did I talk about this the other week, or maybe it was in when we were on break here? Like, um, Tom Cruise's like little promo thing, thanking people. I think it might have been for this, thanking people for coming out
Oh,
and
no, I
making
haven't seen that.
Top
Mm-mm.
Gun like the number one at this again and stuff. Oh my gosh, you should play it. Anyone
Okay.
out there that hasn't watched it, if you look up a recent Tom Cruise video on YouTube, find a recent one, and it's not real long. I don't want to spoil it though either, 'cause it's
Yeah, don't
fun.
spoil it. Don't spoil it.
It's
I need to see this
yeah,
now
it's
because there's
um,
clearly something there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, all right. Well, yeah, it's cool. I mean, I hope they might as well keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like you say, keep it up. Okay, news out of the way. Webtoon talk time.
Mhm.
Um, our first one up is a manhwa called Maybe Meant to Be. And we are catching up with current 19 through 21 is what we read this last week.
Mhm.
What'd you think of these?
I liked that the story finally started moving forward a little bit here. I felt like we took this like cute detour with Minchul's coworkers and their like side romance, and that
Yep.
moved forward. And it was fun to get a little bit of like insight into Gia's background, but then we wrapped it up with like this first episode being like this long, painfully drawn out, awkward, like we're finally confessing our feelings to each other,
Mhm,
which we all knew was gonna happen, and we just had
mhm.
to like sit through it.
Come
And
out
it
of
was
your apartment
right.
now. Like,
No, I don't wanna.
mhm.
So yeah, so like their eventual like, adorable little interaction was great to like wrap that up. And then I was ready to move on to Gia and Minchul and have them progress somehow, which I felt like the latter two episodes really did. We started off with like another classic misunderstanding where we thought
Yes.
Minchul was calling Gia fat. Hilarious. Um, I did not expect it to turn out to be the cat. And
Yep.
then they're turning out to be like a reason because Gia's been sneaking snacks.
Mhm.
Um, but then it, turned into like a catalyst for Gia to be like, oh, well, maybe I am gaining some weight. Minchul works out. Why don't I ask him to teach me? So it was like, oh, cute. She's like at least getting into one of his hobbies. I mean,
Yep.
girl, you probably don't know what you're in for, which she did not.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but it was nice to like see them doing something together, like
Yeah.
growing and bonding. So yeah, very very good set of episodes that like was finally, making them feel more adult and growing in their relationship a little bit together.
Yeah, I'm hoping we don't have, I'm always worried about because I feel like we'll get this pace where we make a little progress and then we go way back. And it's like,
Mm,
where did all the progress go? And then it's gonna
mhm,
be we're gonna keep teetering back and forth like that.
mhm.
But yeah, I
Which is
really
fun
like
for a
these.
while, but yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta at least get some genuine forward movement once in a while.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, the awkwardness was done well between Choi and Soo
Mhm,
and so I enjoyed that. Still excited to see what comes of that and get more to know of his sister. We still had that lingering out there. His
mhm.
sister with
Yeah,
Gia and what their relationship is like now or was and all that. And then yeah, the working out stuff was great. I mean, it's fun that Gia is making a little relationship with the cat, a
mhm.
little separate
Cute.
thing,
Yep,
and so they're buddies now, I guess. And then obviously the big deal was has someone else recognizes the catch that Minchul is at the
yes,
gym
yes.
and laying it on hot and heavy, laying on thick.
Mhm.
Oh, you're so good. You're so strong. Can you show me
Yeah.
how to do this? Oops, I fell. All this stuff. So,
She was, like, fine until she fell, and I was like, "Girl, that is a lot." Like,
yep,
you already playing it up, but, like, you fell. You
yep.
fell from a squat. Come on.
I- yeah, it was great. If anything, I guess it would be nice to have Gia sweat a little longer because she
Yeah.
was realizing like, why am I feeling this way? I don't
Yep.
know, maybe because you live with him and you're married to him, you you would feel this way. Like,
And maybe because he's hot. He
yeah,
has a
yeah,
snack. Like,
hmm
"Girl, wake up." Someone else sees it clearly. Like, she starts to see like, she's started to see it, she's just not admitting it to herself.
yeah,
But now with, like, another woman totally being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come up
hmm
and try my luck with that.
yep,
Gotta get
yep.
moving."
And fortunately, though, obviously Minchol was completely oblivious the whole time
Right, right.
until it became, right in the face. Um, but he did the right thing,
Yep.
He wouldn't have had
Well
to because, clearly they've set up a thing where, again, in their rules, like we're not involved in each other's lives or whatever,
yeah.
which I
Yeah,
didn't think it
Gia
extended that far.
right, Gia even
My,
says, like, "I guess I'm
yeah,
not allowed to do anything because I can't interfere with his life," and it's like, but don't you wanna, like, at least continue the charade of marriage? Like, how would you
yeah.
do that if he's out on dates with other women?
hmm
So,
Yeah, I never thought that clause of the contract was, so far reaching as to
yeah.
allow for other, you know
Growing up, we were sort of like, "This is a very weird piece to the contract." We're, like,
Mhm.
not real sure. It's very vague, it's kinda dumb, like, you're in each other's lives, it's really a weird thing, like, you should word this better.
Yep,
So,
yep.
here's where you should have worded it better.
You wrote that in your comments too, I didn't see that. "Wake up, Gia, your guy's a snack." I didn't know there was a special spelling, a
Yes.
double T spelling for snack,
Yes,
okay.
yes. Only for a special snack. Um,
Uh,
yeah, when I read that, I was like, "This is not the first time this has happened to Mitchell."
yeah, right. But what
And
has he done in the past?
probably just,
'Cause
like, been real awkward and
yeah.
tried to get out of it, and, like, I think he sees this marriage with Gia as, like, that's a fringe benefit. He just gets to be like, "Woof, okay, like, I get to tell them, like, here's my wife."
Hmm.
'Cause he had talked about, like, in early on in their, reasons for getting married, that he didn't want anybody pushed on him and he had all this pressure and stuff. And I'm
Right.
sure for him, he's just like, I just want to live my life and have this excuse of a wife, to my parents who will stop pressuring me, maybe to like girls at the gym who are hitting on me. So I can just be like, this is my wife, back off. I just want to work out. Like, I totally feel like this is the point where Minchill's like, yes, seeing some benefits.
Maybe. Yeah. I'd be interested to see how, because I hope it's not that in a way. I hope it's like his bond with Gia from childhood is a
I
lot
think that's
stronger than Gia thinks.
Yeah, I
And
think
and
I think that's certainly driving some of it. I just mean to say, like, I when Gia proposed this sort of like marriage of convenience thing, I'm sure like Minchiel being so straightforward and logical was also like, this could solve other of my problems.
sure. Yeah, see, I don't come. I guess the way I see it is maybe it's not coming from the idea that he wants to be left alone. More that, like, if he's gonna have, he finds it very difficult to form meaningful relationships with women,
Hmm.
and so that's a stressful thing that he
Hmm.
doesn't know how to do. Well, with Gia, he didn't feel like he had to do that because he had that thing from
Right.
childhood. You
Right. It's
know?
already there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I say he wants to be left alone, I think he wants to be left alone at the gym.
Sure. Okay, that's his temple. That's his like.
Yes. He
Yeah.
is focused, like, don't be up in my social business at the gym. This is workout time.
I understand. I mean, like at kickboxing, it's an hour, and I want to work out for that hour.
Yes.
Like I like the people there, and I do like chatting. But if it's interfering with the workout, like we
Mhm.
could just chat a little afterwards, or
Yep.
like, or something like that. So
There you.
yeah. All right. Well, that's maybe meant to be episodes 19 to through 21. I know
Mhm.
Ashley just read the latest one that just came out and said it was really good, so I'm excited to keep going here.
Awesome.
Um, but now we got to talk about solo leveling.
Mhm.
So solo leveling, I actually picked up the first 4 volumes physically in
Oh,
Target
excellent. Okay.
because I wanted to. I mean, I know me is make a big difference, but I wanted to support our local Target carrying manga and manhwa and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, because
Show there's
normally
a market.
normally I'd buy something from Barnes and Noble or whatever, because I want a bookstore to still exist. But in this case, it's like, yeah, I'm happy that they're putting this in the store,
Mhm.
and so yeah, we have. So Ashley's going to start reading it too, and
Great.
yeah, we'll um we'll have that. Anyways, we're covering right now 10 through 14. So
Mhm.
the chapters were a little short. Not too much was happening in the span of each one, so got a couple more this week to cover.
Yeah, I
Um,
like I like our expansion. I felt like I could really sort of dig into things that were happening in this sequence, because if we had stopped at 3, I would have just been like, okay, so like I'm just starting to understand that there's, this like thing that only Song can see, and it's pushing him, and maybe it's a
mhm,
game, maybe it's not a game, but what's going to happen? But instead we got like, okay, so like this is really like these solo quests now that are
mhm,
happening. We got like real examples of like how great they're going to be for him and how this is going to work to level him up, but also how dangerous this is all going to be.
right. Yep. Yeah, so we have learned a lot now in this. It's like it's we're seeing it's gamified. How does this happen? Is this something like with other hunters? We don't really understand how people awaken and have powers and stuff like that, where
Right.
that comes from exactly. So it's like his power now because they checked him for a potential reawakening.
Right, a
And
second one. So
yeah,
that's
and
the
it's
thing
like
now.
no new stuff detected,
Mhm.
but it seems like he did. It's a method to become more powerful
Mhm.
quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so it seems like, from what I'm gathering from the episodes, there's a possibility for a second awakening, and it's like instantaneous. Like you just switch like from low rank to, A, S, however they, kind of rank things. And it just like happens and it's immediately detectable. Here it seems like he's going to go through a process
Yeah. Hmm.
where he like has to earn it essentially. And I'm
Right.
kind of fascinated that like this is going to be the thing. I'm glad that we're going through this like journey with him rather than
Yeah.
just like instantaneous second awakening.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about how, in earlier episodes, about how what's going to make this different,
Mm-hmm.
because it feels a lot like an isekai in anime or manga where you're like it's in another world or whatever. Well, I'm Joey tonight. I'm doing a lot of air quotes, um, but so what we're doing. The twist, I guess, is we're kind of bringing that game world into the real world as
Right.
opposed to the other way around. And
Right.
so
But
we've
it's
got
also
the
like pocket
gates.
dimension
Yeah.
game
Oh, yeah,
world.
that right. That he can go into sort of his own, kind of own dungeon or own world as well now too, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then he's can see literally like a game interface.
Right,
So,
right.
again, we're taking all these elements and we're going the other way around.
Mhm.
So, I think that's a good enough twist to
Yeah, yeah, I'm
be
intrigued by
interesting.
it. I do have to say, like, I was a little taken aback by some of the things that this game was having him do, where it was like,
Mm,
"Hey, like, you're gonna get stronger now. Do like 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, run a 10K." Like, kid was just in the hospital. Like, I train to run a 10K, like, on some good days, you know what I mean? Like, that's
mhm.
not just something you can do.
Sure. Well,
So, I was a little like, that's kind of a lot to ask somebody, and then when he, like, doesn't do it, when he very rightly is like, "I am injured. I can't do this right now." And then the game was like, "Okay, survive a sand creature." And I was like, "That's not, like, the same thing as, like, training and doing 100 push-ups. Like, how are those related to one
they
another?"
gotta make it way worse. It's a
I mean, I
punishment.
guess. I guess. It was just like, "Ah, come on, man."
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we'll figure out how these hunters are awakened. Are they chosen? Is there, like,
Ye
something larger where these gates are opening and, like, beings or something, gods, are needing humanity to be able to fend this off and
Mhm.
protect the realm or something? So, we're gonna awaken people, and that's who's communicating and doing these specific quests and tasks, for Jinwoo,
Yeah.
or what. If we'll learn that ever, I don't
Mhm.
know. But yeah,
I mean, my gut
I
says yes. The
think
way the
so.
storyline has been building thus far, and like we're getting like, I mean, it's very slow because of course we were only reading 3 per time before, and now we're reading 5. I mean, it's definitely a little like drips and drops of background and like the way things work, but they're there.
Mhm,
So I would trust
mhm,
that at some point we're gonna learn something. It may not be everything, but it could be something.
sure. Yeah, the daily task, I have to say, like, I think that's fine if you have nothing else going on. Like, if you're gonna commit to
And
this and this is what your day is, because you could run, like, 2.5 miles, 2.5
but can
mile,
you?
like, separate it.
Can you? Or
Well,
is it gonna get, like, real technical on you? Like, if you start doing the 100 sit-ups, do you have to do all 100 sit-ups right then?
I feel like if this is like a a regular video game, it would be you could spread it out. You have the 24 hours, because it's like go out and slay 10 cactar. It's like I don't want to slay 10 cactar because they're cute, but you have to do it anyways. And then you do it and you get 3 here and you get 2 more, and
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
I guess it's
that'll be
something fun
another
to
thing we'll have to
test.
find out.
Hmm. Hmm. Because if not, yes,
It's a lot.
that would make it a lot harder. Mhm. Yep. But yeah, he takes a extra little, like, I forget, he has a key or something that he kind of in his inventory, he has an inventory now or something, and this
Yes.
key opens up a dungeon that basically just he can go in, goes to
Mhm,
like the subway, goes in, and he's freaked out because there's beast in there. How can I deal with this? But yeah, in his inventory, he has a sword here now that he
mhm.
can store. That's pretty handy.
Yep.
Man, imagine if you're like Resident Evil World, or any
Ooh,
game. Resident Evil is pretty tame in terms of what you can carry,
right.
but some games is like you can carry the world on your back.
I
So if you
know,
can
I
like
know.
level up your inventory and just
I do always love, like, the inventory because it's always like, there's no way I'd be carrying this, like, random briefcase with, like, a machine gun that I could swap
yeah,
out at any like, there's no way where would I carry that?
it's like
It's
Antonio
not, like,
Banderas.
strapped to my back, like, Oh, like, guitar case?
Yeah. So yeah, he
That's
carries
actually
that.
not too bad,
Mhm, mhm,
but
mhm. So, well, overall, did you enjoy these? We get to see him level up a bunch. He defeats these beasts in this dungeon and going towards the
yeah.
boss.
Yeah, I did enjoy this, this set. The only kind of thing I didn't love at the end was sort of, like, the flip-flopping attitudes,
Hmm.
of, like, "I can't do this, what am I gonna do?" And then, like, the very next, like, panel was him being like, "I died before, like, I can do anything." And I was like,
Mm,
I am glad that you have self-confidence, but I needed, like, a transition there."
hmm. Yeah, we need to see his like confidence stat go up. I mean, he was
Yeah.
reading his stats or whatever, but like a
Right,
direct, charisma. I
right.
don't know what it would be. Constitution. That's what would go up. Constitution would
Yeah.
go up.
I just needed, like, a little bit of, like, I'm okay, I'm doing this, like, I'm surviving so far, like, "Oh, this is going better than I thought," or,
Hmm.
and then maybe, like, a little, "Oh, no," like, and then an impossible situation I got out of, and then, like, "Yeah, alright," like, I made it.
Yep. Yep.
So, that was my only little, like, tiny little whiplash moment, um, but hopefully moving forward, we won't have those.
Sure. All right. Well, that's been soul leveling 10 through
Mhm.
14. Um, Hot D. House of
Hot
the I don't know who
tea.
I don't know who came up with to say it that way, but that's definitely the best way to say it.
I
So,
definitely
yeah.
did not know anybody was saying that.
Okay.
I do not think of House of the Dragon when you say hot D.
I guess I wish I could give whoever came up with it credit, because, I
Whoever
mean,
you are, great job.
yes. House of the Dragon, we're covering 2 episodes tonight, 3 and 4. We'll probably kind of, mix them up a little bit here, but,
Mhm,
try to cover them thoroughly, give our thoughts. We've been enjoying the series thus far.
mhm,
We had a bigger time jump, if I recall now,
mhm.
in episode 3. So
2 years? 2 years, 3 years? 'Cause
yeah,
it's, Aegon's 2nd name day, but I guess it would be 3 years because you have to give her time to be pregnant with him.
yeah, hmm,
So 3
yep.
years.
So yeah, that's a bit.
Yeah.
Lots could potentially happen there. Um, we let's see, we get so things going on that are problems or whatever. I guess everything going on is a problem, it seems like. Got the stepstones,
Mhm.
and Matt Smith is still dealing with that. We've
I
got
I gotta say, I loved that opening. I just the agony that the crab feeder was inflicting on the stepstones is just, I mean, it just brings you right in. You know
mhm,
what I mean? There's no, like, exposition, it's just, like, opening, like, pain, fire, battle, like,
yeah,
urgency, everything is just, like, it's new, it's now, it's, visceral.
yep.
I just really enjoy it.
Yeah, I wrote down Sweet Dragon Scene because definitely it was
Yeah.
the torture and the dragon comes in, and they I think did a fair job of like setting up how this, because you think, okay, got dragons, they're like nukes, you
Yeah,
have this power over everyone and stuff, but they're setting up ways that they're not all powerful, that they
right,
can be thwarted, even though the adversary has dragons. And so,
right,
like this setup here, basically of cave system, where you can go out and you like have all these people on the shore, but you can quickly retreat into a cave system
right.
that the dragon can't reach you.
Yeah,
It's
no,
kind
I
of
mean,
good.
it was great. Yeah, like you said, just to sort of explain, like, how you would thwart a dragon, like, caves, avoid dragon fire, and then you quickly rush out when the dragon is, you think it's empty, and quick rush out with a volley of arrows. I
Hmm.
mean, it's very effective.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, even if you don't get the dragon, we saw Matt Smith get hit. So if you
Hmm.
incapacitate the rider enough, like, I mean, I don't know. We haven't fully explained like every way that dragons and riders are linked, but it certainly
Yeah.
seemed like, Caraxes could feel that Matt Smith was injured and reacted
Hmm.
to that. So, there's something there.
Yep. Yep.
Keep saying Matt Smith.
See.
I should say Damon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
tempting. He's
I
just like one
still
of those
forget a
guys
lot
you
of their
just like,
names. So.
yeah. It's just so tempting to just go back to Matt Smith.
Yep. Um, so we got that going on, and then we're dealing with a lot of the family struggles, obviously.
Politics. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Princess
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra, Rhaenyra. Um, so yeah, I can't the names. I don't know. Um, she is not handling well her situation, and
Yeah.
a lot of people are obviously in positions they don't want to be in, and that includes her for sure. And she's worried about, being usurped for passed up for her spot on the throne.
Hmm.
And we got a lot of people at play to try to make that happen.
Hmm.
Her dad wants her to marry off, and just kind of just frustrated with the whole thing. Hey, let's get this big thing together and celebrate
Yeah.
my replacement's birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wrote down Viserys, priorities as always. Let's go on a hunt versus dealing with the mess that is the stepzones. Like,
Hmm.
let's have a tourney when we, are potentially dealing with the death of a queen because
Hmm.
she's, forced into this childbirth. Like, always got them priorities. Um, so yeah, so I really enjoyed the like family dynamics here that were coming out to play. Um, I mean, obviously everybody knows why Rhaenyra's frustrated. We know why Viserys is happy. It's super obvious that he's like thrilled that he finally has a son. He's in love with Alicent. She seems pretty like settled into her role as queen and sort of,
Yeah.
taking advantage of what that has to offer. Um, on the flip side of that, she is the character. I guess the Hightowers as a pair are the characters that aggravated me the most in this particular episode.
Okay.
Alicent for her like absolute naivete, in which she's like, Rhaenyra, why are you acting this way? Like, why are you upset? I want us to be a family. And Rhaenyra's like, you really can't understand why I'm upset about things. And like, I mean, I give props to Allison for trying, but also like,
Hmm.
come on, like you don't really know why she's mad. Like you
Hmm.
really don't know. Like even if you think she should get over it, like you can't pretend like you don't know why she is
Right.
mad.
Yep.
So that was particularly aggravating to me. And then Otto's you know, ever pushing forward. I thought, in his own like house advancement, I was annoyed, from the start when he like pushed Alicent at Viserys. Seems to have worked out, and that's really nice. Doesn't mean it isn't gross. And that he isn't jockeying for position and power. And then here, when he like constantly pushes, and pretends like the only solution to everything is, Aegon being on the throne, it's like, again, that just like absolute naked ambition is tiresome.
Yep.
Um, and it's just like a little bit much for me right now.
Hmm.
So those two, for very different reasons, were kind of the eye roll for me of the episodes.
I mean, how much is Otto going to be right though? Is like I can see it in his mind. Like, look, this is a win-win. This is a win for the kingdom, and this is a win for my family and our name. Because I'll have blood on the throne, and
Yeah.
we don't know how he'll be, but he'll be a dude, and we have less chance of war. So it's like
Yes.
I can sell this as I am in service of the realm,
Mhm.
and a side bonus, my family sits on the throne, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and to me those feel like 60-40, like bonus for
Mhm.
me, like side bonus is the realm. Um, so I very much like I get why Otto would push. It's totally natural. For a man of his ambition.
Right.
And like Viserys comments in the second of the pair of episodes that we watched, he's like, "No man has ever served on my small council or in my kingdom in any position and not had self-interest." I get it. Like
Right.
people are self-interested. Um, but it's a lot. And Otto pretends like this way is the only way. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're making the case too hard here and you're pushing
Mhm.
too hard. And he got the first kind of slapback from Viserys when he made the giant misstep of suggesting that we work this all out, and Rhaenyra just marries her half brother.
Mhm.
And the way that Viserys looked at him in that moment, I was like, "This is the start of a serious fracture right here."
Yep.
That was a serious misstep, um, and I think it was compounded by the previous misstep of Jason Lannister in assuming that
Yeah, yeah.
also that, Rhaenyra was gonna be passed over and that Aegon was gonna be, named the heir. I think a lot of that, like, assumption pushed Viserys the real wrong way.
Yep. Yep. I liked his little speech to Rhaenyra as well. Like
Yes.
I wavered, but
Yeah,
I am resolute now. I liked that
yeah,
openness about it. Um,
I did
and
too.
I think Otto would ring a little. He'd have a little more credibility to stand on if he hadn't been the one to immediately set up his daughter with the king.
Absolutely.
If that had just happened naturally
Yep.
without his influence or something like that, it just happened to be, um, or if he had decided to marry the kid, Valerian,
Mhm.
then and they had a son, and then he encouraged the same thing,
Right.
both situations he'd have more to stand on. But in this, it's very it looks very much like you were hoping for this the entire time and
Yep.
played an active role in trying to achieve it. So,
Right. Yeah, he's pushing real hard in a lot of directions. He's pushing Alicent and he's pushing the king, and it reeks too much of naked ambition to be just like non-biased solid advice.
yep.
Which Viserys gets from his other guy on the small council who I'm just like absolutely falling more in love with.
I know,
And
right?
like
Yeah.
I can't remember his name even, and I
I don't
feel
know his
terrible because
name.
he's
I
like
don't know what house. I did nothing.
right? Right? He even says it because he's like, I'm in a small house and, I have no ambitions to like grow higher than, my position on the small council. And then he just like proceeds to just lay out some super solid advice for Viserys
Yep.
every time. And he just crushes it. So
Yep.
yeah, that is who Otto could be if he hadn't tossed Alicent at Viserys right away.
Yeah. And so then the big thing comes from this that we have the hunting thing, we have
Oh
uh
my God.
Rhaenyra like bonding with the with what's his name I added to the
Sir
list.
Kristen.
Yep. So
Sir Kristen.
Kristen, he's protecting her and like, hey, please come back to camp. Can we do that? And it doesn't work out, but they bring back a boar. So that
Yep.
stuff is all nice, little
She worked out a
character
little
building stuff.
aggression, it felt like.
Yep. Hmm. Yep. And we ultimately realize, okay, we're gonna have the king is gonna send help to Damon. There's Damon on the screen right there. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So to linger on the hunt for just a moment, because I
mhm.
said we had to talk about it earlier.
Hmm.
The hunt gave me serious Robert Baratheon vibes, and I was
Yes.
tensed the whole time.
That would be too much if they like
I know,
mimicked
I
that.
know, I
But
know,
yes.
but I was like, something. It might not be that, but something, because I mean Viserys was in his cups. He was
Mhm.
drunk.
Yes.
And they kept being like, "Oh, sire, your prize is near. Like, we've got eyes on your prize." And I was like, "Please stop saying the word prize. It's really freaking me out." Um, and they just kept being like, "Oh, we're setting it up. We're cornering it for you." And I was like, so clearly, they don't think he can do any actual hunting, which I mean, in
Right.
his inebriated state, he could not.
Mhm.
But it was just so like metaphoric of the way that Viserys is constantly being handled by everybody around
Right.
him and told what his goal is or what he should be focusing on or like what's
Right.
important. So I loved the hunt in that sense. And then yeah, the entire time I had this like horrible sense of foreboding that there was going to be some tragic hunting accident.
Mhm.
And luckily that was not the case. But just the entire time they played it well to just give you that like,
Mhm.
remember when Robert was deep in his cups and
Here's a
decided to
spear
go
too.
stag
Yeah.
hunting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oof.
Yeah. I I mean, 2 things. I think, 1, I can definitely see these sort of ceremonial, like you say, pomp and circumstance kind of hunts, very just, like, symbolic. I can
Yeah.
see it happening this way
Yeah.
because I'm like, this is no hunting. You just have a
No.
party of people and dogs and stuff, like,
Other people
surround and
corner
trap
an
something, and then
animal.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you get to just stab it.
Ugh.
But I
That was
can see
gross.
that being the case, or that happening at some point in time. And then the how great would it be to watch this and then go through Game of Thrones,
Mhm.
having not seen it, and see a similar situation, and then oh shit, you know?
Right?
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
fun.
And then just
So
be like, "Oh, this did not turn out well at
yeah,
all."
yeah. So yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Hunt was interesting. Whole camping thing. The awkward Lannister setup talking to
I
Rhaenyra.
love how smooth he thought he was, and he was not. It was great. It was great to just watch, like, the absolute confidence that he is just, like, winning this, taking this prize home, and then to just see it, like, wiped away. By Rhaenyra and by Viserys, like, both of them were like, "Mm."
Yep, yep. Um, oh yeah, so Damon on the
Mhm,
he is forces are demoralized.
mhm.
He is not winning here,
They have
and
a horrible war council with no good advice and just pessimism.
yep. Hmm. I was, it was interesting because he gets a letter from the king. The king decides, all right, I'm gonna send help,
Mhm.
and he freaks out and bashes his helmet against the guy, kill the
Oh,
messenger,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Um, I was expecting him to turn around and give some sort of motivational speech, like rally the troops, like
Mm.
this is the thing. We're gonna, did not see this coming.
Yeah.
Um, so he instead goes in on basically a kamikaze mission to
Yeah.
um like I'm gonna take down this crab guy or else, or I'm don't going
Yeah.
down. Um,
Yeah, I actually did see that coming.
okay.
I very much knew that Viserys's letter was gonna push him the exact wrong way to just be like, "I don't need your help. I could do it
Hmm.
myself." It's very, like, spoiled younger brother tantrumy, like, "I could do
Hmm.
it. I could do it." So, yeah, I mean, basically, I don't remember which councilman it was who had, like, suggested that Damon would be perfect to set up a trap for this. Basically just was, like, gifted that scenario when Viserys sent in the messenger to be like, "I'm gonna help you,"
Hmm.
because he
Yep.
was talking before, like, "How are we ever gonna get Damon to just, like, agree to just walk in there? Here you
Hmm.
go."
Yep. Yeah, I thought it was a really cool scene. It was well done. I was a little. Ashley and I were talking. It's like, okay, he needs to not be missed by all these arrows, and then he
Did you
does
see
start
my
getting hit.
comment? I said, "Okay, are these
Uh,
archers stormtroopers or what? They can't hit him at all?"
yeah, yeah,
I was like,
yep,
"This is a little unbelievable," and then he finally got hit, and I was like, "Oh, now he looks like Boromir, and now I'm sad."
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Ugh.
um, the, the honestly, this is the more realistic thing in a way because
Mhm.
some a lot of times everybody's Legolas all of a sudden when they want to be,
Right.
it's like 80 yards and they're just like running, boom,
Right.
we can
Yeah.
hit our target whenever we feel like it. They're up on the cliff, they're shooting down at him, running. This is, I know it's a lot of arrows, but still, and he did eventually get hit. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah, the more surprising thing to me about this scene was that Damon was willing to give up his dragon and let Laenor ride him. I think his name's Laenor.
okay. So this is the
That
thing.
that to me was like, wow.
Well, okay. This is the third episode, and
Mhm.
in this is the third time in a row in the post credit conversations. I feel like we've had contradicting information, or at least something told in a way that I did not read it in the show.
Mhm.
And I read this in the show as this was a plan
Mhm.
that, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going in, I'm going nuts. They're going to think that I'm surrendering. It's not going to happen. And I'm going to make a
Mhm.
dash for it and get this crab gang guy. And that's
Mhm.
what's going to happen. It's going to, and when I don't surrender, and I attack, that's your sign to come charging in and come in with the dragons. And
Mhm.
once we've lured them out, basically,
Yeah.
they're in the open, torch them, and that's so I was like, okay, that makes it's a plan setup.
Yeah.
In the after credits, they made it seem like he was literally going in to die, like he was gonna go in, and it was lucky that his people showed up on time to save him.
Well, uh, I mean, technically, yeah, it is because a lot of that plan hinges on timing.
Yeah,
I mean, there is
but they
obviously
said
like
he
a
was staying there facing ready for his death. Like when he was there and surrounded, he had just taken shelter in that for a little bit. He's like, he is ready to die. And
yeah.
that's how devoted he is to like not accepting his brother's help. He's gonna die here for this because he couldn't make it all the way. He couldn't get to the Crab King.
So, I mean, yes and no. I see where that in the moment would be the case if he was like, F, our plan didn't work out. The timing's not going to work. I didn't make it. I'm ready to die here. I totally accept that Damon would think that's a possibility of this plan because the way that the war council like laid it out, they were like, it's a suicide mission with
Right.
like this one glimmer of a chance of success. So he could absolutely think that, but also at the same time, the plan is hopefully to get him out
Yeah.
and hopefully show up in time and hopefully be the cavalry
Yeah.
that we can make sure to get the crab feeder.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, so I guess both and, but I don't love the afterward maybe implying that like the plan wasn't fully thought out and that he was just going in there solely to die. Because
I
I think
kind of want to watch it
definitely that's
again.
a possibility. Yeah. And I didn't see the afterward for this one, so that makes it difficult for me to like interpret any
Hmm.
kind of, tone or meaning or something like that. But yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, just to imply that it's like straight up, you know, it's only a suicide mission. I don't think Damon would have taken that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting to the point where I've always liked listening to a little after credit thing, a little behind the scenes, something like that. But I felt so every time now, it's just there's something at the end where someone is conflicting what another thing says or conflicting what the show seems to say.
Sure.
And
Mhm.
that's like the been my biggest problem with the show so far. It's really weird. So
Yeah.
I almost don't want to watch them, but yeah.
Yeah. That's fair, I think.
Let's see. Oh yeah, I was distracted by a pug. I said I missed probably an important line because I was distracted by a pug. Um, that's
We honestly rewound that 3 different times just to catch that Rhaenyra tell the old lady, "What have you done to serve the realm? Eat cake." Because we both Chris and I
mm,
both thought it was like a super important line that she said. And we kept missing it, and then it was like that was uneventful,
mhm.
but the pug was cute.
Yeah. My issue with this episode, I guess, stemmed from just like I was a little drained of. I mean, it's not issue with the episode, just like the character stuff that was drawing me in and getting my attention. It was like, if this amount of time has passed, I wish that Rhaenyra would have like would be trying to would have accepted who she is and her situation a little more, and like
Mhm.
been working to. show people that she deserves to be the queen, that she
Yeah.
deserves to take the throne. And so that means being respectable. It means like serving functions you can. That means like reaching out to people and forming relationships and all this stuff or whatever. And she's
Mhm.
just not. And I guess we're
Yeah.
seeing in this, we're seeing her on a day where things are being brought up that are obviously going to be bothersome to her. You know, she's got again someone that might take her place now, and so she's more upset. But that
Mhm.
was like one of my big takeaways from the episode was just that like you're not doing yourself any favors at this point if you
Yeah.
want to be seen as you'll be the suitable heir.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Rhaenyra does not make a case for herself. She's like pouty and flippant, and it's hard to like for the viewer, obviously like a week has passed since the last episode, so it's like understandable in our time that she
yeah,
would be that bitter about it still after like a week. But
right,
when you have to buy into the show's reality of 3 years forward, it's hard that she hasn't made any progress in 3 years. And I
right.
get it. There's a lot of like circumstantial things. Like clearly everybody has just like assumed her only value is being married off
Hmm.
because she's not going to be the heir and Aegon's going to be named heir. And everybody's just like so certain of this. And Viserys clearly has done nothing like concrete to dispel that. So I get her like level of frustration. I get her like resentment towards Alicent, both for like the surprise, hey, you're betting my father, and now you're having his babies, and also the like sweet naivete of like, let's just be a happy family.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's frustrating that she's clearly done nothing to address any of that
yep,
in the
yep.
intervening time.
Mhm. Well, feeding off of that, and we're probably running a little long, but we got one more episode to talk about, episode 4.
Wait,
Um,
feeding off of
oh,
that, crab feeder does die at the end of the episode.
yeah, I'm a
Were you
little
a little
sad we didn't see
surprised?
the fight,
Yeah, I was a little
you know?
surprised that that's how it ended. Like, on the one
Mhm.
hand, he seemed intriguing, and like I said, I love these, like,
Yeah.
just, like, visceral openings on the step zones, and seeing the conflict there, so I kind of wasn't ready for him to die, and on the other hand, like, thanks for not dragging it out, I guess.
He feels a little like Darth Maul, you know?
Yeah,
Really
kind of,
cool looking, kinda bad, comes from nowhere, he's silent, we don't know much
right?
about him,
Cool
and then he's
mask,
cut in
cool
half.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, and there it is.
Done.
Yep. I mean, maybe he's gonna come back with robot legs, I don't know, yeah,
Yeah,
so
it was a little surprising to me, like, just the buildup that had been happening, and then he was, like, gone.
yep, yep,
So but like I said, at least we didn't have to, like, drag it out over, like, episode after episode and, like, never really get anywhere.
yep.
So,
Well, episode
RIP.
4 is very interesting. It's a lot happens. I would say where I was thinking was what Rhaenyra maybe needs is to understand that yes, there's a lot of things that you can't do, but you have so many more things that you can do. Like everybody has a different elements that makes them a little more free. Like she's expressed to her knight here, I
Sir
keep forgetting
Kristen.
yeah, Kristen, that at least you get to have a choice
Mhm,
in who you know, whatever. It's like, okay, right, but you have bathwater drawn for you and can be bathed by servants, and like you all have different benefits to your
mhm.
situation and your status. And I thought
Yeah.
maybe Damon was gonna kind of show her a little bit of the underworld, a little bit of like something else. That's where my mind went. It's like maybe she's gonna see a little bit of like how other people have it.
Mhm,
Maybe it's a little bit of a wake up, like I kind of maybe don't have it so bad, you
mhm.
know. Um, that wasn't where
Yeah.
we went with that,
No, that's
but
not where we went. Um, I definitely considered that as one of the possibilities when, Damon takes Rhaenyra on their, like, midnight jaunt into the city. But I actually thought Alicent pointed it out to Rhaenyra better, um, in the sense of, Rhaenyra's complaining, like, "I have all these suitors, but they're not interested in me, they're just interested in, like, my bloodline and me giving them children," and Alicent is like, "Yeah, but a lot of noble women have the same thing, and at least you get choices. Like,
Yep.
she's clearly referring to herself in the fact that, like, she really feels now that the bloom is worn off the rose and
Yep.
Otto forced her into this relationship. And she cares for Viserys, but that's not love. It's not being in love.
Sure.
Um, so, she's just kind of like bringing up her own situation, but she really could be talking about, any one of the noble women in the Seven Kingdoms. I mean,
Yeah.
how often do women get a choice of their husbands? So she's like, listen, you might have limited choices, but you have choices.
Yep. Or
So,
a farmer's daughter. Might be the same thing,
right,
like,
exactly.
you don't know how that goes, so
Right, right. Hey, father comes home one day, like, oh, I got a plot of land in exchange for you marrying their son. I got,
mm,
12
yep,
goats or whatever. Like, have
yep,
fun.
yep,
So, yeah, at least Viserys is giving her the space to like pick somebody.
mhm. Yeah, no,
Um,
that's a good point. It was a good moment between the 2. I was happy that they were getting a little closer again,
yeah,
even after, like, Rhaenyra really burned her and,
yeah,
like, handled it well. I forget what
yeah.
the line was, but it was, yeah, something with, like, just having to, you know,
Oh yeah.
pump out babies or something,
Yeah, can you imagine being trapped in a castle and just pumping out babies and
yeah, it's
Alicent was
like
just like, "That's my life."
mhm, it's like, "Thanks, wow, these what do you
Yeah.
think I mean?" But
Yep.
then Damon earlier then too, he said, I wrote a couple quotes because I liked him. He said,
Yeah.
"There are worse things to be sold for," which is
Mhm.
100%, like, that could be
Oh, yeah, when
uh
she's talking about her father selling her for the most powerful,
mhm,
like, castle and the most powerful army or whatever. Yeah.
yep. And then you can't live in fear or forsake the you can't live in fear
Can't live your life in
or you
fear.
forsake the best parts of it. Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
I liked that.
Yes, I did very much enjoy that exchange between Rhaenyra and Damon, not only for, like, the way that Damon somehow was just, like, throwing out wisdom like
Yeah.
Skittles candy, but he also had some good jabs at his wife about, like, "Oof, like, we couldn't have kids. Kids can't grow in a hostile
Yeah.
environment." It's just like, "Oh, that is a sick burn."
Yeah, she's just not even there to defend herself.
I know, I
I wanna
know.
meet this woman,
I
you
really
know?
do too. I really do too.
I
I
bet she's
just
lovely. I bet she's lovely. It's just
I
something
I bet she's not bad.
a real
Do you know
firecracker or something,
Yeah, like
really
like
forceful.
yeah, just, like, has a strong personality, but Damon's like, "I don't want that." Like, we all know what
Mhm.
he wants now after this episode. He made it
Well
quite clear, and I thought, honestly, he was playing a long game when he came back, because he came back, like, so full of, pomp and circumstance, and "They call me the king of the
yeah,
narrow
yeah,
sea, but I know that you're the true king," and I was like,
right.
where is this, like, reasonable, logical Damon Ben? He's gotta be playing a long game, and it turns out he was.
Mhm.
I don't know that he thought it all through,
Mm,
but you could definitely tell he wasn't just there, as he said, because he missed the comforts of home.
right.
Even Rhaenyra saw right through that BS and was like, "You never liked this place.
Mhm.
There's something else." And then after the midnight jaunt that turned into the almost midnight tryst,
Yeah.
um, which I felt like I saw coming based on like the heavy flirting conversations they had, but I didn't really know that they were gonna go there. Um, yeah,
Okay,
that
so,
this
yeah, we
this
definitely
was
have to
this
talk about it. To talk
yeah,
about
'cause
the
this
whole
was
thing.
this was an
It's
episode. This was a lot happening in this episode,
mhm,
and a
mhm,
lot of like character movement, a lot of plot movement, and a lot of like potential three-dimensional chess happening, or also like things stumbling into working out.
I don't think anything's gonna stumble into working out. I don't know. I think, maybe, yeah. It's
You know?
yeah. Okay. So, yes, Midnight Jaunt, we've Ashley and I both said from the beginning, it's like they seem close, he
Yeah.
gave her the necklace, and stuff, which okay, but just like things add up or whatever. And I honestly they've I know they're related, but they kind of feel like a reasonable match. Um
They do because they're Targaryens.
mhm,
I
yeah.
mean, It's honestly okay, I'm gonna side note something. One of the things that really bothered me this episode was Otto Hightower pretending like the thought of Damon and Rhaenyra was just unconscionable when
Yes.
he's the one in the previous episode who was like, "Why does Rhaenyra marry her half brother?" It
Mhm.
was like, "Come on."
Yeah.
Like, you cannot pretend like terrible.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So, because they are Targaryens and then, like, Alicent being like, "Oh, you can't do this. I know you're weird Targaryens, but no." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, they're Targaryens."
Yep.
Like, I don't have to be cool with it in theory, but if they are in this world and their rules dictate that that's fine, then I don't think, like, other characters in this world have the right to be shocked at it.
Right. Okay, and this episode, did you see the post-credit scene?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. How did you read Dame so they're in the what do they call it? They call it the, like
Oh, right.
what's the, like, it's not a whorehouse, it's like
Yeah,
the
brothel?
sex pit, or what
Yeah,
it's some
sex
term that they use.
in the brothel, yeah.
Yeah.
The orgy,
So,
basically.
yeah. So, first it's like, okay, what's the point here? Where are you bringing her? Why?
Yeah.
This is odd. What's gonna happen? So then when it became more clear, okay, but then he doesn't let her kiss him anymore and then kind of gets angry and leaves.
Mhm.
How did you read that? What do you think the goal, intentions, all that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a hard time, reading this whole scene. I was constantly guessing as to Damon's motives. I, like, wrote down when they first started going out, like, is this a flirting thing? Like, are they just, like, escaping for some fun together? Is he teaching her, like, a lesson as her uncle? Like you said earlier, this is how the poor people live, and this is, like, the real life at King's Landing.
Right.
Are we pressing her to find out any vulnerabilities and if she gets spooked by anything? Um, is he opening her eyes? Is he testing her limits, like, to see what she can take and what she, finds unconscionable? Is he trying to drag her into some, like, disreputable scenario? Like, I was
Yeah.
constantly just like, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. But so the way that I read this is Damon and Rhaenyra both get swept up in the moment of, we're out on the town, we're having
They've been
fun, we're
drinking.
drinking. Yep. And Damon does want to test her limits and does want to see how far she'll go. And so he takes her to the brothel and it's just like, you know, guising it in the like, marriage doesn't have to just be awful and sex doesn't have to be awful. It can be great, you
Mhm.
know? And he's kind of like pushing her for a reaction, and when it's positive, I think that's the moment that, like, drunk Damon decides to act on some feelings that he's hinted at before and other characters have hinted at before. um I think Missaria is the name of his madam
Oh, okay.
prostitute, his lady
Right.
on the side. When before, they were having sex, I think in, like, the very opening episode of the series, and she's like, "I could go get a white-haired girl if you want to," kind of like hinting that,
Mm. Yep.
Damon does
Yeah.
have, like,
The
feelings for
taste or
Rhaenyra.
thing, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Damon got swept up in the moment, um, and then sort of at the very last minute was just sort of like, "Ah, I can't. I'm not here. Not not right here." And if he didn't stop himself right there, he was going to take Rhaenyra, and not that I don't think that he doesn't want to, because he's made clear that he does. I just think there was the wrong place, wrong time.
You think he has made it clear?
I think it's clear, like, in his, like, thoughts, like, actions, like, things that he said before in their, like, flirty conversations. He is not opposed to this, and I'm banking a lot on, like, that statement of Masaria's where, she's like, You're clearly not enjoying what we're doing, so I'll
Right.
go get you a white-haired girl." So I just sort of feel like that's a tell. So I think he's into it.
So I love what you're saying. On the record, I like this interpretation. What I don't like is what seems to be the director's interpretation at the end of the episode. Okay, so she seems to suggest that Damon is all about control. And once she is into it, she has nothing to offer him anymore. And so he's out. And so to me, that like, then I think back, okay, he was with that one hooker and not into it. The moment we're referencing, I can get someone else. Is it like, because then my mind went to like, he's not excited if he's not like basically raping someone. He has to like be
Yeah.
he has to be dominating
Well,
someone physically in that sense.
yeah, I mean, it's like the ultimate thrill of the chase and thrill of the conquest. Like, once you
Mhm.
know you have somebody's interest, it's boring.
But would he
And
do that with his
right.
niece?
Right. So here's my problem with that is like, first of all, I don't think Damon's I mean, I think he likes the control and I think he likes showing Rhaenyra and pushing her limits and like seeing what's going to happen and how far
Yeah.
she'll go. Absolutely think he loves that part of control, but I don't think that he is ever foolish enough for those like 2.5 seconds in which they are seeming like this is going to really go somewhere and she is into it, that he thinks I have her under my control now. That's way too fast and that's way too complex a thought for his drunk mind to be like, got her, done. Because
Yep.
because I just don't think that he would think I've got her, it's done until they actually went through and had sex.
Right. Right. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Do you see what my problem with these post credit
Yeah.
things? You
Yeah.
know, it keeps happening, because I agree with what you're saying. It makes more sense. Like, you just can't go through it in that moment. It's something probably he's thought about a long time. It's maybe a reason why he is unsatisfied with his wife, and, like, it's just not working out, like, it maybe
Mhm.
is a thing like that, and just decides in the moment, like, it's not and it's maybe a little shocked that she's as into it,
Right.
um,
Could be
and
taking him by surprise. Like he thought he'd
yeah,
have to work at
be a
it
little
more. And
more yeah.
yeah. I mean, people honestly, have very strange reactions to getting the thing that they want. And
Yes.
sometimes it's like, I can't actually be getting this right now.
Yep.
Like it's not actually happening or like just that, especially when he's drunk, like you don't always
Yep.
have like the most logical reactions to things or you don't like process things that are happening to you. So it's
Yep.
I think absolutely conceivable that he's just like, what I can't do this right here, right now.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of things happening.
Yep. So
So
then,
plus it works out for him that he's like even the appearance of, they don't actually go through with it, but the appearance
yeah,
of it works out a lot in his favor or almost
um,
does. Almost does.
well, so it's weird because then we have both involved parties here going out and telling hardcore half truths
Yes.
because Allison,
Technical truths. Technical
yeah,
truth.
kind of. Allison questions Rhaenyra, pretty upset about it, and but she asked. This is what I didn't like. I thought this is a mistake. Rhaenyra
Yeah.
says, "On my mother's memories,
Mhm.
he didn't touch me. He did touch you. He didn't
Yes.
have sex
Yes.
with you, but he
Right.
absolutely touched you."
Right. Right. I was mad at
So,
that too. I was like, like you really could have just been like, he did not have sex with me and like
yes. And that would have been the
left it
full
there.
truth, and it would have left out some details, but it would have
Right.
been
Because
true.
she tells a pretty good, like convincing 75% truth up to that point.
Yeah. Yep.
Just that
Going
like they're
out,
out,
showing, get a little
right?
freedom
He's
here,
he's deep in his cups. He wants to keep going. Like she leaves out that
Mhm.
she also wants to keep going. But
Yeah.
I mean, she definitely wasn't like this is my idea to go to a brothel. Like,
Right.
that is Damon. And she's like, he's my escort out. We're having fun. Yeah, I'll follow him. And then
Yep.
suddenly we're in a brothel. So, like, 75% truth quickly downgrades to like half truth.
Yep. And then Damon goes and he doesn't
Ooh.
deny it.
Yeah.
He's confronted by the king and he's like, well, better me than someone else, right? And
And this is where I thought, like, maybe he's playing that long game,
yeah,
you
see,
know?
that's the hint that maybe he was like wanted this to happen and was setting it up. Or
Mhm.
was this kind of what happened and now he's just playing into it?
Either way, I would believe it. If he, like,
Hmm.
came back and did all that, like, smooth talking in the beginning because he wanted something like this to happen and he, like, kind of set it up in the hopes that would totally buy it
Hmm.
because it would make a lot of sense to me why he was so, like, agreeable and submissive in the beginning.
Hmm.
If this just, like, he kind of just was coming back, thought, I'll play, humble king and maybe see what I can get, and then it just fell into his lap, also would believe it.
Yep. Yep.
To me, the why behind doesn't matter as much as, like, I still feel like this is Damon's end goal.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, so of this episode, there were three things that bother me. Um, not again, not in like quality of the show or something like that. Just like it was so
Sure. Let's see if yours match
one
up with mine.
one being her swearing on her mother's memories. Cover that one.
Mhm.
The second one is Rhaenyra then deciding I'm just gonna jump Sir
Ooh, yeah.
Kristen's
Hated it.
bones.
Hated it.
It's like, no, this does
Hated
not
it.
look good, and I'm like, you're just gonna get this guy executed maybe or something,
Yeah. Yeah, no,
like
I
this
didn't
is
I didn't love that at all.
so
No,
that.
I liked them as friends.
Mhm.
And I liked for him that he was so proud of getting into the King's Guard, and he's like, "I'm bringing honor to my house that, like, no one could have ever dreamed of." And here she is just, like, kinda shitting all over that
Mhm.
and just being like, "I'd really love to sleep with you right now because 'cause I'm all worked up from Damon. We
Yeah.
are right here, and we do have a relationship, and now I'm just gonna, like, capitalize."
Yep.
Didn't love it. Hated it.
No. It's not unrealistic, you know?
No.
That's a lot of
No.
my things, it's like that's why I don't have a problem with this show. It's like they make sense. I just wish the character had the fortitude to make another choice.
Same here. Same
So,
here.
and my third thing is again not unrealistic, but I was hoping for more from the character. I was hoping for because Allison has shown maturity
Mhm.
that that her friend here, Rhaenyra, hasn't, and
Mhm.
it's I. It took me by surprise the beats in this episode to contrast like Rhaenyra like having fun and stuff like that, and then the dutifulness of
Mhm.
Alicent and like that
Mhm.
weighing on her and stuff. Because the episode previous, she'd like, as we talked before, like she's feel like she'd settle into her role. She really
Mhm.
does care for the king. She's
Mhm.
got her baby, some of that. And so it was a little disheartening, not
Mhm.
unrealistic again that this could
Yeah.
be the case. You can see as time would go on or something like that, you feel like you don't have any friends that are like of
Right.
your age. No one, it's all your servants are your age or whatever, and they're your servants and whatever.
Right.
Um, but it was definitely a downer, and I was hoping that like her like admiration for the king and for what she had managed to achieve here had been enough, to
Mhm.
make her um not have to
Yeah.
feel like a victim or a some sort of like, martyr here where I have to like
Yeah.
give everything and I'll sponge bathe you and all this stuff.
Yeah. It was definitely a rough example of duty wearing thin.
Hmm.
And, the honeymoon period is clearly over. And I don't think it doesn't mean she doesn't care for Viserys and is genuinely looking to do good and do right by
Mhm.
him and do right by the kingdom. And she's just, a naturally generous person. But yeah, it is tragic that we see this sort of like slow degradation of her personality and the quality of her life where she does feel trapped. And we do get this like foreboding sense of exactly what Rhaenyra is trying to avoid.
Yep. Mhm. Yep.
Um, yeah, I thought that was actually it was tough for me to watch, but it was at the same time like really great storytelling and like juxtaposition against Rhaenyra.
Mhm.
Um, and it sort of also like kind of made you wish she wouldn't be so flighty,
Mm.
you know?
Well, I wish she was there for Alicent.
Exactly.
I
I
wish
wish
that
she would.
relationship was strong and they were, like, really in this together.
Right, right. Um, it kind of made the tables turn where, a couple of episodes ago I was, feeling for Rhaenyra when Alicent was like, "I'm here for you," and
Yeah.
Rhaenyra's like, "You absolutely betrayed me and did not tell me these things that were happening. You
Right.
kept giant secrets from me." And now I feel the opposite, where, I'm being made to understand Alicent, feel for her. And now I'm upset that like Rhaenyra's on the other end and like lying to Alicent and keeping truths from her.
Yep.
Um, so I really had hope they were gonna start genuine reconciliation in this episode. And it just didn't seem like that's gonna go well if Rhaenyra's lying.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so my actual third thing that bothered me in this episode was Otto again.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
just pretending like I have real bad news to deliver about your
Yeah, it's so hard to
daughter.
say. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, "Don't you lie, you tattletale. You love this. You're living for this." So, I really enjoyed the conversation where Viserys was like, "Yeah, so I'm gonna have to let you go. See what you've been doing." And it doesn't
Mhm.
mean, like you said before, it doesn't mean that Otto won't be right about some of the things that he's like pushed for in the kingdom. But it was nice to see Viserys be like, "You're really trying to handle me here, buddy, and I'm just about done with it."
Right. Mhm.
So, I'm really hoping that Viserys can just, like, absolutely wise up and pin the hand on our other friend from the small council, and if he does,
Yeah.
I'm going to learn his name.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the case, yeah. I agree. Um, let's see. I know there's, Alan says Lionel Strong.
Lionel Strong.
Well,
Alright. In my repertoire now, Lionel.
gotta put it in the,
Yeah,
put
in the
it
show notes.
in let's see, so we remember for next week, Lionel Strong, and there'll be the one, like, wise council
Honest
member.
guy.
Yeah.
Um I guess the other big thing we didn't really address, that going along with Otto's firing, it is a condition of Rhaenyra getting married, and she accepts her duty. She's going to marry Laenor, Laenor.
Yeah.
I don't know
Mhm.
the
Right.
correct inflection there, but she's going
Yeah.
to do it. She's sucking it up, and
Yep.
he doesn't seem too terrible from the like two scenes we caught of him in the battle for the Stepstones. He seems okay.
I don't know which one it is. I don't,
He was the dragon rider.
oh, okay. Okay.
The guy who
Alright.
came in on Caraxes. He's like 17-ish looking, so at least he's like appropriately aged, which,
Mhm.
the opening of this episode made fun of like the suitor free
Yeah.
for all,
Mhm.
where she went from like a 65-year-old grandfather to like this 11-year-old looking boy who turns out to be way tougher than he looks.
I know.
Full grown ass man.
I was half waiting for at some point, "Alright, fine, I'll take the punk," you know? Like,
Oh, that
because
smart ass.
yeah, to come back and
Yeah.
take the kid that just, like, that way kind of impressed her. I was like, "Alright, I'll take him, that's fine," you know? I
Yeah.
was half waiting for that at some point when she's like, "Alright, fine, I'll do it," you know? But,
Yeah, he was being all witty and amusing, and that doesn't really help you when you're faced with the point of a sword.
mhm, mhm,
Ooh,
mhm.
that shocked me. I did not expect that to go that way, and I kinda loved it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
Little
fun.
kid got his vengeance there, his little comeuppance on
Hmm.
the other guy.
Yep. Well, I feel like there's more to say. I can't think of it right now. We definitely covered a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
Um, there is a lot of things being set up here that I'm very interested to still see how they pay off.
Mhm.
I'm a little worried that it looks like we're probably going to get, I would guess, one more episode before switching cast members.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we weren't. I mean, I
I
could
agree.
obviously think something differently, but unless it's a really big time jump, do we need to have someone that, could feasibly be anywhere between the age range, if we're talking Rhaenyra, feasibly anywhere between the age range of 14 and 23 or
Mhm.
something like that, anywhere in there. You can't just like age her up a little bit or something,
Yeah.
maybe, how much is the time jump here? Because it'll be clearly a different person. It'd be the same for Alicent.
Yeah.
No one else is going to age as much, I bet. All these people that are
Yeah.
already full adults that are older, like, they're not, you know, putting grandpas
Yeah.
in their role, so
Yeah. I'm kind of disappointed about it as well. I'm really enjoying these particular actresses in their roles, and I think they're doing fantastic jobs. So yeah, it's hard to let that go.
yeah.
And it's hard to know, obviously what these new actors will bring. So it's yeah, it feels a little bittersweet that it's happening.
Because 'Cause we've had them matured up already, like,
Mhm.
Alicent has been married and had kids, so we see her as older now,
Right.
and Rhaenyra now just went to a brothel
Hmm.
and then had sex.
Right.
So we saw both of
She's got some
them.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll eat my words here and be, like, very happy with the new people, but I think that, yeah,
No, it's a
I'm worried about
gamble.
it.
It's a
Mhm.
gamble for sure, and I'm worried about it too. So I
Mhm.
totally get you. Um, One last thing, very
Mhm.
superficial. Damon's haircut. Yay or nay?
Nay.
Hate it.
Nay.
I hate it.
I mean, I don't hate it, but I loved his hair before, honestly. It's
Yes,
funny
I
because
did
in
too.
the early stills, I'm like, Matt Smith, that hair, I don't know,
Hmm.
way before the show came
Then like
out.
this
But
shot here where
now,
he's in the stepstones and he's surrendering and he's got like the cool braids and it's all
yeah,
working. Yeah.
yeah. No, it
So
was
I wrote
sad.
I did not love it. And then when he appeared in that like dirty, like kind of loose fit suit of armor, not this shot, but he's got another one where he's just like literal armor on and his hair is like tousled and in disarray. He was giving me like Brienne of Tarth vibes. He really was. And I just was
Okay,
like,
I never
that,
got that, but
yeah, that's not your best look. Like
mm,
I worked for Gwendolyn Christie. Like that
mhm.
for her all worked, but I liked Dan's long hair.
Oh, I wanna see a fight now between him and Brienne. Like, how
Yeah.
good of a fighter is he? I mean, obviously, it was pretty skilled to go
Mhm.
in against the crab feeder there and all that stuff. But he did win, but also lose some contests against Kristen Cole, right? It was
Yeah.
him during
Yeah.
the tourney. So is he really skilled, or
Right.
what's the scale here? Because obviously Jamie and Brienne were like,
Ultimate.
and then
Yeah.
also what's
Pinnacle.
his face? The other guy that was protecting Tyrion.
Oh, Braun.
Yeah, it was like Bronn, Jamie,
Brienne.
Brienne, and
Yep.
then the sand serpent guy. It's like I feel like they were like the fighters that were to be
Yeah.
feared.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to have that kind of like yardstick to be like, so where
I
would you
know
fall
power
in
rankings.
in our Game of Thrones like whole entire universe? Where are
Yeah.
you?
Hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, that's been Hot D House of the Dragon, episodes 3 and 4. And I'm not gonna get tired of calling it Hot
Hot,
D. Yeah.
provocative, gets the people going.
And Popcast on the Rocks, episode 119. Thanks for
Mhm.
watching. We are on all the podcast places. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I mean, those are the big ones, but there are plenty of other services we're available on as well. Answer our polls, our questions on Spotify if you're on there. Please leave a review if you use Apple Podcasts. Otherwise, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter,
Mhm.
Facebook, we're on all those places. So go ahead and check us out there, interact, subscribe, all that sort of thing, turn on notifications, blah, 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 blah. Killing the Flower, they wrote our theme song. So you should check them a look. They're on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. So we thank them very much.
Mhm.
And otherwise, that's been it. Andrea, thanks for joining me for another one.
Of course. As always, cheers.